The United Nations Sustainable Development Goals and Agenda 2063 both strive for gender equality in all spheres and a quality education for all, aspirations that have been previously voiced in the Millennium Development Goals and the Education for All movement. However, education is not freely available to everyone. Girls are the first to be excluded from it in many regions, and the first to be failed by the system, exposing them to other risks. This is particularly true when cultural, traditional, and religious factors play a role. Many sub-Saharan societies do not promote gender equality, due to concern that it would interfere with local culture and tradition. Certain Islamic practices hinder schooling for young girls due to uncertainties of religious standings on girls' education. Girls' education in Africa causes major concern. According to the UNESCO data, across Africa, 9 million girls between age 6 and 11 will never go to school, compared to 6 million boys. The number of primary and lower secondary aged girls out of school has risen from 28 million to 32.6 million in sub-Saharan Africa from 2015 to 2019. The Africa Educational Trust suggests that less than 2% of Somalian girls attend secondary school, and by grade 5, only half as many girls as boys attend school in Uganda and Kenya. This presentation looks to investigate some of the factors that prevent girls in Africa from accessing basic education, and answer the question, to what extent do cultural, traditional, and religious ideologies impact the education of girls in Africa, and how is this addressed? Some African cultures believe discussions about sex between parents and their children is a taboo, which prevents parents from providing their daughters with thorough sex education. Depriving girls of their right to information on puberty and sexual health puts them at risk of becoming pregnant and builds on negative misconceptions and attitudes about menstruation. Many girls report feeling ashamed, embarrassed, and uncomfortable when managing their menstruation in school. And the lack of access to safe, private, and sanitary toilet facilities can hinder their participation and engagement in school. A UNESCO report estimated that 1 in 10 girls in Africa will miss school when they have their period, and many girls drop out of school altogether once their menstruation begins. Smiles and Summer's book, Growth and Changes, provides culturally appropriate puberty education to adolescent girls. Resources like this ensure girls have important health information, but can also equip them with skills to navigate conversations with friends and relatives around an uncomfortable topic, helping to dispel taboos. Gender-based violence is one of the challenges faced by girls and women in Africa. According to an UNESCO report, sub-Saharan Africa has the highest percentage of young people who experience physical and sexual bullying at school. Girls are the most vulnerable to this, and report suffering abuse, sexual harassment, intimidation, and sexual abuse almost every day at the hands of their male peers and teachers. A UNICEF study conducted in Botswana found that 20% of respondents had been asked for sex by a teacher. Violence in school often leads to lower attendance, poor academic performance, and dropping out of school. To begin to address this issue, Plan International implemented their Girls Safe Schools initiative, which sets out key principles for framing effective government action against gender-based violence in schools, including improved legislation. Female genital mutilation is known to be practiced in at least 25 countries in Africa and is seen as an important rite of passage to commence womanhood and prepare adolescents for marriage. Whilst female genital mutilation is illegal in 26 countries in Africa, this tradition is still widely practiced. FGM is recognised internationally as a violation of the human rights of girls and women, and its practice can hinder and even end a girl's education due to inevitable complications such as health issues, pain, and distress. This can cause girls to be less focused in school, perform poorly, have regular absences, and often drop out. African countries account for 15 of the 20 countries with the highest rates of child marriage globally. The reasons behind early and child marriage are complex, with some families seeing it as a more effective alternative in securing their daughters' futures to investing in their education. Child marriage may be perceived as the only option, and these burdens can lead girls to being forced into marriage, dropping out of school early and not returning. In northern Nigeria, early marriage and pregnancy is encouraged, and among some cultural groups, girls are discouraged from the pursuit of formal education because of the belief that education makes women look down on men and will therefore inhibit their chances of getting married. In sub-Saharan Africa, 40% of girls are married before they are 18, and in numerous parts of Ethiopia, it is still commonplace for girls to be married young, well before they are 18 and before they can get a school education. While child marriage has cultural roots, poverty also plays a role as poor parents have limited money for education and therefore limited options. Poorer families in rural areas view girls' education as an unwise financial investment and a waste of resources, as it will only benefit the family the daughter marries into. Economic empowerment is monopolised by the males, with investment put into their education and girls kept at home in the belief that domestic chores are sufficient education for girls to learn how to keep a family. Traditional gender roles and norms also pose as a barrier for girls' education in Africa due to the substantial burden of domestic work daughters are expected to undertake. Particularly in rural areas, it is commonly understood that males are responsible for bringing income into the household, and females are responsible for domestic duties such as cooking, cleaning, taking care of children, and working in the farms. This domestic work leaves little time for girls to attend school regularly or study at home, and affects their ability to concentrate on schoolwork, leading to underachievement and withdrawal from education. Work is being done to combat these cultural, traditional, and religious challenges African girls face when it comes to their education, and to shed light on girls' rights and provide support and opportunities to girls. The Yegna Girl Effect project uses radio and media to spread awareness of girls' rights in areas where girls are marginalised and vulnerable, and is a trusted platform to help girls find information and make choices and change their lives. Media enlightenment programs have also been suggested to help capture parents' interest in educating their daughters, as well as debunk misconceptions and beliefs that inhibit girls' education. CAMFED's education program works to build a supportive environment and provide financial support for girls to succeed in school and progress into young adulthood with more training, education, and job opportunities. Young women who have been through the CAMFED education program become important advocates and role models that communities can relate to, a concept supported by Africa Educational Trust. The project multiplies the educational opportunities for girls and empowers young women to become leaders of change. Their efforts have already supported more than 4.8 million children to go to school across Africa, with millions more benefiting from an improved educational environment. The Chadat Education Invention supports girls in Africa under difficult circumstances through their education. They provide life skills education, professional counselling, and school materials including sanitary products to help increase the self-esteem of girls and provide them with marketable skills. The World Economic Forum's Global Gender Gap Report also shows progress, with gender parity in education being achieved in Botswana, Lesotho, and Namibia, and 4 other regions having closed more than 98% of their gaps. 7 countries have reduced their educational attainment gap between 1.5 and 4.7 percentage points. However, 3 countries where there is a greater educational gender gap have registered a stale improvement, having yet to close 32% and 40% of their gaps. The Millennium Goals report determined that the 97% target for universal enrolment is close to being reached in all regions except sub-Saharan Africa, which in 2015 was sat at 80%. Recommendations have been made to redefine the roles and responsibilities of faith-based organisations. Traditional and religious associations have a big influence on families, communities, parliamentarians and other key decision makers, and therefore play a key role in changing social norms and improving equality for girls and young women. Traditional and religious leaders can help to teach parents the true position of their religion, and can contribute sustainable solutions to girls accessing school. Women suffer many human rights violations due to culture. Therefore, culture and tradition must also be reviewed to ensure that the fundamental rights of females are not abused. Another recommendation is for governments to tighten legislation and protect the rights of girls, children and women. Governments are urged to set the legal age of marriage to 18 for both boys and girls, ensuring that it is effectively implemented by appropriately trained law enforcers and traditional, cultural and religious leaders, and make registration of all marriages in an official setting compulsory. The African Charter on the Rights and Welfare of the Child sets out rights for children which include taking action to end harmful social and cultural practices, an aspiration which is echoed in Agenda 2063 and the 2030 Agenda for Sustainable Development. In 2008, the Tanzanian government declared its intention to change legislation that maintains gender violence, but still no amendments have been made. Therefore, governments are advised to implement targets to end all forms of discrimination and violence against females and revoke any laws that discriminate against women or hinder gender equality. Much is already being done to end gender parity in education, but further changes could help to achieve the goals set out in the 2030 Agenda and Agenda 2063, to provide quality education for all, eliminate all forms of gender-based violence and discriminatory laws, and allow all girls in Africa to enjoy their human rights.